more than we do. No, seriously, we should be more like you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed.
Pie smells amazing.
And now that you've been studying the Book of Mormon, how does it make you feel?
Can you guess what kind of pie she's making?
Is it blueberry pie?
It is blueberry pie.
I knew it, my favorite.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode. All right, guys, getting to the film review. This week is my choice. We're continuing on in 2024 month. I chose one of my favorite movies of last year and just one of my overall favorite horror movies now. The Hugh Grant-led Heretic. I thought this movie was just fantastic. Me and Dustin did an instant reaction on it after we saw it on opening night. I love this movie. It just unsettled me so much. Thought-provoking ideas and dialogue from Mr. Reed. Like, this movie, it really stuck with me for a few days. It's what I'm looking for in a movie nowadays. Brian, what did you think about Heretic?
So I have to admit that I was intrigued by this from the first time that I saw the trailer, A24 or not. I didn't think that Hugh Grant would do something bizarre like Beau Was Afraid, and I was definitely right in that regard. He absolutely killed it. I can't remember where I ranked this in my top 10 movies of 2024. I want to say 3 or 4, but it was definitely up there. And I'm doing scene by scene, so I'm just going to say this here. This movie makes you ask and question your own beliefs and gives me at least this weird position of kind of agreeing with both sides here to an extent. So again, Grant was fantastic, dare I say, infectious with his lines, which were fantastically written by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Some people I've seen have a problem with the ending being dull, but I vehemently disagree with that. My only critique is that ending. I thought that Eric Foreman should have come busting in with Kelso and Fez, not you, Hyde, and ended this thing with a gunfight or something.
Well, Hyde's in prison, so he couldn't have helped anyway.
Yeah. He's a pedo.
Scumbag.
He's a scumbag. Fuck.
I don't get that reference at all, but go ahead.
Oh, Danny Masterson. He's not a pedo. He's a convicted
rapist. He's a rapist or something.
I'm talking about Brian's whole thing. Like, I know that guy's a pedo, but I didn't understand the other stuff. Them busting into the.
Like, you don't know that 70s show, brother?
That's all the 70s show characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
The elder is Eric Foreman from that show.
Eric Foreman.
Topher Grace is Eric Foreman. So
yeah.
That's right. Okay, I remember that.
Man, what a movie! What a film! I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. I fucking love this movie, and in a genre that has no shortage of religious thematic plot lines. This one has such a different and unique take on it from the very beginning. Even using the LDS church, not something you see very often in the genre. Like, just completely different takes, and the performances all the way around. We're basically in a 3-character movie here. 3 people, pretty much, for the most part. And they all, to me, act their asses off. And, shout out to Hugh Grant. Just not something I expected the guy from Notting Hill to do. No offense. But I mean, he's, I grew up with Hugh Grant as kind of a rom-com guy. And here he is just fucking showing his chops, man. He was, golly, I hung on every word. He was fantastic. His delivery, the performance, I thought it was great. The way this movie is shot is awesome. It kind of acts out like a play, in a way, like a stage play, where they're almost all in one location, or each act takes place in a singular individual location. You have, it's all one house, but it's 3 rooms, essentially, each act. And I really like that structure. It makes it easy to follow, and it makes it creepy. I love the music here. I love the score. I just love the thematic elements. I love what you said there, Brian. Makes you question your own thoughts, your own beliefs from both sides, right? It's like, it really is a deep film. And I've seen some stuff online, like you said, about the ending. I actually like the ending. I think it kind of hits the point home of questioning your own beliefs and what did you see, what is real, what's not real. And I kind of thought the ending was ambiguous on purpose, where it was like, what really happened there at the end? I still don't really know. I have an interpretation, which is the whole point that Reed is trying to make. So again, I'm blabbering now. I'll save it for my my breakdown here, but I thought it was really, really great. Really great movie.
Yeah, it's funny, Mike, that you said that about Hugh Grant, because he actually said in an interview one time that he's getting bored of playing obvious roles and being typecast, and writer and director Scott Beck and Brian Woods saw that in an interview and wrote the role of Mr. Reed with Hugh as their top choice for it. So that's cool.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I saw this movie November 10th, 2024, which was the Sunday of its opening weekend. And when we did the top 10 episode, or top 10 movies of 2024 episode, I had it second. And it's really good. I mean, when I saw A24 was putting out a new horror movie, just like Max and Goofy, I had high hopes, but this one didn't disappoint. I thought that it was really good, and Hugh Grant was great, but also the 2 leading ladies, Chloe Easton, Sophie Thatcher, they were really good as well. So I think this one delivered, and it's an A24 movie that Brian can't really hate on. I do think that the ending is up for interpretation, and I've got the way I took the ending is different than what appears to be the popular line of thought. So I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Do you remember the instant reaction? Are you still in that? Because I remember I said I took it literally, and I still do. But you still on what you were talking about?
I don't remember a single word of what I said on that instant reaction, but based on what you just said, I think so. Yes.
With the butterfly landing on her hand. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And I'll touch on that a lot in that last set of scenes. So
interesting, because I took it literally too. I'm actually kind of interested to hear what you have to say. I'm doing scene by scene tonight, so do you guys have anything else before we jump into it?
No, let's get started. I got a lot of notes, so let's just get going.
Okay, guys, let's get into it. Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Oh, wait, just The Heretic. We open up with 2 young missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Sister Barnes and a more timid Sister Paxton, sitting on a park bench discussing porn. So you definitely know this is A24, in case you were wondering, right off the bat. Sister Paxton discloses that she has yet to baptize anyone, as we see the 2 moving from place to place on their bikes before Sister Paxton is pantsed by some other teens on the street asking if she has magic underwear. Still crying from the experience, they arrive at the home of a reclusive middle-aged man who used to actually be a prime minister in Love Actually and date Andy McDowell in 4 Weddings and a Funeral, so he has led a scorned life, let me tell you. He invites them into which the 2 girls try to tell him that they aren't allowed inside unless there's a girl roommate. He insists that he has a wife, and they come in and offers them blueberry pie, while also telling them that the walls and ceilings have metal in them, implying that no cell phone signal. He brings them a couple of colas as well as a candle and places them on the table for them. They begin to discuss religion, with Reed making several comments regarding faith and the nature of belief that noticeably make the two girls uncomfortable, as we end the set of scenes with Reed asking what their thoughts are on polygamy.
Yeah, y'all bear with me. We don't have as many breakdowns, but I do have a lot of notes. I apologize. So if you're listening and you get tired of me, just hit that old 15-second bump ahead. I wouldn't blame you. But I love that a movie starts with two Mormon gals just talking about condom size as pornography, to quote Paxton. I absolutely love both ladies cast in the film. I wasn't familiar with either of their game for the most part. I saw The Boogeyman with Sophie Thatcher, but I didn't remember her in that. But I think they both crushed their roles. Chloe East as Paxton is so spot on with the die-hard, religious, good girl. And Sophie Thatcher, she's fresh on the mind after seeing Companion recently. Me and Dustin gave her a lot of flowers. She is a phenomenal actress, and I will continue to praise both of them throughout this review. The facial acting from Sophie as Barnes is incredible. Without saying a word, you can tell she has questions about her faith already. Beautiful camera work as the ladies push and carry their bikes. Beautiful backgrounds. Nice nod from Paxton telling Barnes she loves her singing voice. And I'm sure we all know this, but fun fact, Sophie Thatcher is a singer in real life, and she sings the closing rendition of Knocking on Heaven's Door when the credits roll. Fuck these girls who pants Paxton in public, though. Ain't that sexual assault, kind of? Like, I don't know. That was really inappropriate of them. We're barely 6 minutes into the film, and we're already at Mr. Reed's house. We've said it several times in our shows past, but I think we're all fans of, like, horror movies that are single location. I love that this movie, while mostly at one location, has a buffet of places in that same spot, though. And now we meet the best horror portrayal of 2024, in my opinion, Hugh Grant as Mr. Reed. Man gives a phenomenal performance, and I can't wait to compliment him more and more as this review goes on. I respect these ladies' commitment to spreading the word, even while getting monsooned on. This is just a small criticism, but they should have requested to see the wife first. But if that happens, we don't have a movie, so we press on. Absolutely love the living room setting, and I've seen several comparisons of Reed's house being like a church. Very welcoming upon entry, but the uglier it gets, the deeper you get into it. So I thought that was brilliant. You can see on Barnes' face she's already uncomfortable, and I love how observant she is already. Hugh Grant confirmed that the picture of the man with the dog is actually a younger him, and the dog's name, believe it or not, is Nico. I thought that was really nice. Shout out to me. Fun fact that I'm sure most know, but Chloe East and Sophie Thatcher are both former Mormons as well. I love the dynamic between both ladies. One is diehard into it, and the other is still feeling out her faith. Originally, it wasn't scripted for Grant to mispronounce Moroni. He did, though, to see if the girls paid attention throughout all the dialogue, and Chloe was told by directors Beck and Woods to correct him. Like Hugh Grant would go, off, he would change up the dialogue to make sure that they were paying attention because there were so many dialogue scenes. I thought it was brilliant. Love the excitement on Paxton's face, seeing how much Reed has read, and another ad-lib. Not really an ad-lib, but she kind of put the inflection on Mr. Reed. Like, that was her own thoughts, and I love that. Beck and Wood spoke on when Reed sits the table on the book on the table, how loud it was in Dolby Digital, and that's the format I saw the film in. Visually stunning, and they spoke on how the sound design would literally shake the theater, and it did in mine. I thought it was great. Awkward as hell, Reed thinking Barnes' father passed away from blueberry disease. Give me a break, man. But Thatcher, again, with incredible facial acting after Paxton corrects him. Another odd question by Reed asking if she's heard from her father since his passing. Like, if I was either Paxton or Barnes, I would feel so uncomfortable after that. Nice jump scare in the theater with these lights timing out. Mr. Reed yelling out, "Pie!" cracks me up every time. I only got 2 more bullets, Mike. Reed finally gives a warning about awkward questions after already asking several awkward questions. Appreciate the heads up. I love the opening so far. Very little has happened technically besides dialogue, but I'm on the edge of my seat because, like Brian mentioned, I'm questioning what he's saying, what they're saying, how I'm feeling. Like, my thoughts are running right now. I love this movie so far.
Man said, "Shout out to me." Crack me up.
Look, as I mentioned in my open, as many religious-based movies in the genre that we have, I wonder why this is the first, I guess, LDS take that I've seen. Like, I can't remember another one that kind of has that thematic element throughout it. I thought it was really interesting and really different. I have no idea if magnums are bigger. I wouldn't know. I've never needed one. So shout out to whoever needs one. I've never seen one because I've never needed one. Again, Sister Paxton, super awkward and super forward with her words. And I know quite a few LDS members in my real life that are like this. So this is an accurate portrayal. And like you mentioned, they're both former members of the church. So I'm sure they are very aware. I did find it funny that a porn made you a believer. I mean, just really reassured your faith. A porn, huh? Okay, interesting. I agree with you, Nico. Wherever they are, the landscape, beautiful. I want to live there. That place looks great. The magic underwear scene made me really mad. You should always treat others with respect, especially when it comes to their faith. And LDS members are usually the nicest freaking people that you'll run into, man. Like they just really are. They're give you the shirt off their back kind of people. So that scene made me really mad, especially because those quote unquote magic underwear are worn for a reason, in their church, their temple garments, and that's really not cool, man. But anyway, Hugh Grant, when we first popped on the screen, looks so different here to me, man. More distinguished than I'd ever seen him. Just again, I only known him as like this charming rom-com SOB guy. Here he is. I'm like, is this what am I going to enjoy this? Oof, I sure did.
Dude, how good was About a Boy with him and a young Nicholas Hoult? Was that not a great movie?
I don't know if I've seen it.
Oh man, that's from the 90s. That's the movie I think of when I think of Hugh Grant. You should check it out. It's a touching story.
Unfortunately, Dustin, I think of Notting Hill, which is unfortunate.
No, that's fair too.
A lot of rules like needing, a female presence there are true within the church. So again, accurate writing. The weather in this movie, and I don't know if anyone touched on it yet. The weather is its own character in this movie. It has such an effect on the mood and atmosphere that I often say, but I just love the way it's utilized. I love the way it is a character in the movie. Grant is just fantastic in this scene, man. His delivery of dialogue is truly wonderful. The way he uses normal banter at first to kind of get them to let their guard down, but gives just enough of that creepy factor where Barnes is very skeptical already. And you can see it in her facial acting. I think it's great. He does come off as just like a little bit of an odd older guy that's spiritually curious, which I think a lot of people are. So your guard's not all the way up, right? I mean, he's asking the right questions. I will say he's clearly read a lot about the LDS church and that faith. And I don't think that him placing a soda down was unintentional. It clearly was intentional because he knows that, or he thought anyway, that was against their rules. It's not, technically, if you want to be technical. Super awkward with the blueberry disease. Jeez, man, like, get a fucking grip. Again, probably intentional, right? We're talking about how manipulative this guy is. I think he heard very well that it was Lou Gehrig's. But anyway, this question that he asked, though, about polygamy must be so damn annoying if you were of the LDS church, man. Like, it would immediately make me feel like I wasted my time coming here, and he's just some horny old dude that wants to have a bunch of wives. The look that Sister Paxton gets is like, dang it, man, this shit again. Like, you can almost tell it's like they've been there before. Again, great scene, just a bunch of talking back and forth, but just love the way it's played, love the way it's shot. And again, last thing, sorry, Dustin, but the question he asked about, have you heard from your dad since or whatever, is definitely intentional to make her be like, again, I thought that happened in Christianity. If you believe, your dead relatives came to visit you, they kind of, again, he's using that question to be a dick and then trying to pull it, and then trying to walk it back. And so I again, we're just really love the portrayal that he's given so far.
Yeah. So first of all, in this set of scenes, you're wrong, Sister Paxton. It's like comparing a shower curtain to a Werther's wrapper. Very distinct difference. Very weird conversation for them to be having, to be honest. Like, when I went and saw this movie in the theater, I was a few minutes late. The Steelers beat the Commanders, unfortunately, that day. And the game was a 1:00 game that went a little late. And so I didn't get to the theater, and I missed this entire first scene. So this was my first time seeing it. Definitely threw me off. The girls pantsing Sister Paxton, that was out of pocket. They would have felt the wrath of God right then and there. But that was a great way of, showing how cruel the world can be. The sisters were complimenting the girls before they approached them, and they were so welcoming and friendly only to be the butt of their joke. Like, I thought that was great. Really creepy how it was shot when they were knocking on the door and we could see Mr. Reed's shadow inside, but a great contrast when he opens the door and he's so charming and polite. I like how optimistic and enthused the sisters are here. It's very believable, both in writing and acting. So hats off to all involved there. Big red flag, though, when he just voluntarily tells them that the walls and ceiling have metal in them. Like, why would he say that? I would have had questions. Like, why would that matter? Or something. Because you don't just volunteer that information. Sister Paxton, so cute and innocent. Like, I really like how all three of these characters are written and acted, but Grant steals the show acting-wise, definitely. And I love how tight the camera draws in on him a lot of the shots. Like, when he's delivering his dialogue, it's very well delivered, but just the camera work makes it so much better. His awkward blueberry disease joke was very well executed, too. It seemed like the kind of awkward foot and mouth situation that anyone could find themselves in. But again, everything is very intentional with him. The first time I watched this movie, I was thrown off by Paxton's butterfly statement because I didn't think Mormons believed in reincarnation. But after looking into it, the church officially rejects it. But a lot of Mormons do actually believe in reincarnation. Her butterfly wish comes into play in a big way later. So great way of planting that seed. And then red flag number 2, when he asked about asking the awkward question. They should have just tried to leave right then. And his awkward question, like you said, Mike, they're probably like, oh, not this again. We've heard this 100 times. But it was so carefully done and intentionally delivered, like the way that he did it, just so that he could prove to them how much he knows and to use it as see, your religion's not as holy as you think it is, all while playing this sweet and innocent, I'm just curious kind of character. So intrigue is picking up, and it's a very solid open.
Brian, really quick, I got to tell you, the de-pantsing scene, you touched on it, and we all did, really. That scene really upset me in general, just because, again, everything is South Park, and South Park is everything. They rip on Mormons in that episode about Mormon faith, but they also just at the very end they let you know these are the nicest freaking people on the planet, man. They may be a little bit out there, but they're nice, at least they're good people. And like you mentioned, Dustin, it's they were warm and accepting, and then you're gonna pan somebody. Man, if this were a slasher film, I know whom I'd want my first victim to be. It's that girl right there. Fuck her.
Good point, Mike. The conversation starts to take a turn as Reed starts to tell the controversial history of the practice of Mormonism and polygamy and Joseph Smith's controversial practice of it. He uses an example of finding the best fast food of all religions to tell us that he has spent his life on trying to find the one true religion, and says the more you know, the less you know, as he blows out the candle. Why is that important? Well, as Reed leaves the room, Barnes realizes the smell of blueberry pie is from that candle. The two girls realize as they try to leave that the front door is also locked, and, like explained earlier, there's no cell phone service. The timer goes off and all the lights turn off as well. So fuck me, this is going well. As Mike would say, tough day at the office. The two girls reluctantly go deeper into the house into Reed's study. They lie and tell him that they've been summoned back to the church and grab their coats, where Sister Barnes realizes that she no longer has the key to their bikes in her pocket, but Sister Paxton does. He tells them that the front door is on a timer and won't reopen, and if they want to leave, they have to exit through the back of the house, and tells them he knows they're lying about taking a cell phone call, and asks if they still believe his wife is in the next room. We flash back to the church/ward, where Elder Kennedy, played by Topher Grace, notices that Sister Paxton and Barnes are still out in the storm. Back at Jigsaw's playhouse, the two are reluctant to enter through any door, to which Reed reassures them that in order to go oot, they must go doon. Barnes expresses that they are scared, and that's the end of this set of scenes.
Man, it's inappropriate for an older man to be asking two younger women about polygamy, right? This meeting was set up. If Reed wants to talk about this, man, go start a YouTube, a TikTok, or talk to a male more. And this is not appropriate for you talking to these two young girls about that. Barnes takes the lead, showing she's more knowledgeable than we thought as Paxton kind of clams up. I love the yin and yang between the two ladies. Incredible camera work as we circle Reed. The cinematographer was Chung Hoon Chung, who also did some of other films that you may have heard of, such as Old Boy, It Chapter 1, Zombieland Double Tap. Last Night in Soho, and Wonka. I thought the camera work was phenomenal in this movie. Here's the first of weird quotes and iterations from Reed. With great power comes great responsibility. That's from Uncle Ben and Spider-Man, a film I loved and have seen. And Topher Grace is Venom too, so shout out Sam Raimi. Man is bouncing around doing some things. The fast food comparison is fantastic. And it gets us all invested because we've all eaten fast food, unfortunately. Like Dustin mentioned, don't show your gut. No, what'd you say earlier about not showing your?
I don't coddle it.
Yeah, don't coddle your gut. Just eat the worst shit possible. Very creepy line in context when Reed says, "I've never had a Wendy." What do you mean by that, sir? We're 22 minutes into the film now, and I remember being in my chair creeped out and the tension being thicker than cold oatmeal. I appreciate the fact that the ladies are feeling the awkwardness and tension in the reveal when Barnes sees the candle as blueberry scented as chef's kiss. Sophie, yet again, with some incredible facial acting. I love that the writers are realistic with the ladies. Yes, it makes sense they're trying to get the hell out of Dodge and are hesitant continuing on. The tension gets thicker and thicker as they can't get out the house and hear his footsteps. Another great scare in the theater when the timer for the lights go out so abruptly. Nice false scare of them walking up on this mannequin statue in the shadows. I feel like some people could find that corny, but I don't because I just think Mr. Reed is a weirdo, so it makes sense he has something like that. Now we're in the sanctuary part of the house. How creepy is this set piece as we keep going on? I know Dustin can attest seeing this in theaters as well, but whatever that contraption is with the water leaking, tipping over, that thing provided a nice jump scare throughout the film every time it happened because you never knew what was going to happen. The music stopping as they hear the front door won't open again thickens the tension that much more. I think the film did such a great job of creating a realistic situation with ever-increasing tension. Mr. Reed is the most charming gaslighter, giving them space to make a decision to leave out a sketchy door. Man, fuck this guy. Huge oh shit moment when Reed says the ladies were lying about the call due to the metal in the walls and ceilings. I know those girls just felt their guts sink. The look on both ladies' faces realizing they've been busted, I thought was exceptional. The music playing now makes it that much more tense and scary. I couldn't imagine, how women felt watching this scene particularly. Or, fathers or, uncles. This is scary. A lot of strong, thought-provoking dialogue delivered by Hugh Grant. Do you believe in God because you grew up and were told to, or do you actually believe? It's something I think I've struggled with that myself who attended church. I will admit I do believe in God, but I wouldn't. But who doesn't ask themselves these kind of things when their life gets really hard and starts to crumble around them? I think everybody asks that. I love how the scene is shot with Barnes opening the door and looking into it. Sophie is my new horror queen and she crushes it. The camera panning deeper into the basement as both ladies look into it. I thought that was terrifying as hell. This is the last thing I got, Mike. Hugh Grant is charming, condescending, funny, witty, and a downright asshole. Or as others online would say, he's playing Hugh Grant. Go ahead, Mike.
I mentioned it in my open, but this is starting to come off like a little bit of a play, right? I mean, the way it's done, the way it's structured, the way it's kind of going from not, in a play, it's not going from room to room. It's going from set piece to set piece, but it kind of has that vibe about it here. But yeah, anyway, and again, he's using this topic of polygamy and other stuff to kind of poke holes in their faith, and really do it in a playful way almost, right? Like you guys mentioned, I mean, he's still trying to seem like a charming guy that's just, I'm just asking questions, that kind of person. I'm just asking, man. I'm just asking, one of those guys. But anyway, hey, rules of Taco Bell. Number one, we don't talk about Taco Bell, right? That's a Fight Club reference, Nico. I love this fast food. What happened? Come on, man. Hey, Nico, have you seen Fight Club?
I can't tell you.
Yeah.
He gave me a dirty look, and he hadn't seen the movie, man. Come on, man.
No, he can't tell you because
really good.
He can't tell you because he can't talk about it. The star of that movie was Ed Norton, though.
Hey, yeah, all right. Man, Brad Pitt's great there. Fuck yourself. Anyway, I love this fast food conversation. Like Nico mentioned, we've all can relate. And while they're ranking, I'm like, oh, man, this ranking that she's giving out is trash. And then I wanted to give my own ranking. I'm not going to do it on the show because I don't want to sound like a fat fuck, but I do have a personal fast food ranking. You can go to my X account to see that. Again, I like that Barnes isn't really falling for all of his shit. Her guard is now all the way up, right? She's not really buying a lot of his stuff, at least on the surface level. Now, she's still being manipulated because this guy's a master at this shit. But at the same time, she is at least giving some intellectual pushback. And, I started getting annoyed with how often they ask to see his wife. Got to be smarter than this. Of course there's no wife. Of course. By now, we should all know, of course there's no wife. And by the way, I love the way that Sister Paxton is played by Chloe East. How she kind of not pretends to come off as naive. It's just her personality, and she uses words like sketch and, stuff like that. It's interesting. I love the way the character is played because I think she's a little bit of a playing possum here, right? Where I don't think she's as quote unquote dumb and naive and, not intelligent as she's giving off. Like, I think she's a little bit more witty than she lets on. And that's what happens later in the movie. I love the scene of turning around the candle and seeing that it's a blueberry pie. What a fucking great reveal, man. Like, just holy hell, this guy's thought of everything. Like, this is really some intense mind games and manipulations. It's just shot so well, and I love that it plays right into his narrative. Again, now it's snowing, so the weather is, again, a major character of the movie, and it does play in even more later here. That figure in the dark hallway was fucking terrifying. Talk about tension, man. That was, man, that got me the first time I saw it. His room being designed to look like a church, obviously no mistake. Clearly very intentional set design. I thought it looked great. And again, he's controlling them again by asking these questions, and he's controlling them by making them believe there's a genuine way to leave his house, knowing damn well there's not. That is the actual literal definition of the term gaslighting. His gotcha with this fake phone call proves it, right? I mean, they should be smart enough again by now to know that the wife is not real, and yet he's using their hope and, positivity against them. This asshole, I say asshole because he is. He's coming from a high horse with his, do you believe in God question? You believe in everything you're told. I mean, again, like we mentioned, I get it, right? I think we all have had that line of questioning in our own brains and own minds, but he's coming at it from a perspective that's twisted and rude and weird. And he twists that stance to make to make him a dick. And it's clear now that he's playing a full-on game with them as we head into the next set of scenes. He is a mental jigsaw, as I like to put it in my notes. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, when he gave his spiel about the history of polygamy in the Mormon church, he definitely knew more than he let on at first. Like, I would have been extremely uncomfortable if I were the sisters here. The tension was broken up nicely when he said, bingo. And then he quickly pivoted the conversation to fast food. He's doing a great job of keeping them distracted. And the fast food conversation is a very entertaining and a great metaphor. Then he pivots back to his lecture. Very creepy now. The mood is ever changing and it's very effective. Sister Barnes seeing that it's a blueberry pie candle, very alarming too. There is no pie. Is there even a wife? They should go now. She straight up lied about the phone call though. Sinner. The door being locked is a major concern. Panic starts to set in. And she lies again about the phone call. There's no need to lie. Just say that you need to go. But that shows the human nature. White lies for no reason just because she's nervous. Got to be a fire hazard to have a front door with a timed lock on it that won't open and can't be overridden. And also very creepy when he just casually says they have to go out the back. Like he doesn't. Normally they'd be like, oh, you just got to go through here and walk them towards him. So the fact that he doesn't, yeah, uncomfortable. And them calling him out on the lie, or him calling them out on the lie, very tense. They are in trouble. When he asked them if they believe his wife is in the next room still, oh, man. I give them props for holding their composure. And him saying that his wife built his home, that's a malicious joke. Like, this guy's got a twisted sense of humor. When we cut back to the church, Eric Foreman didn't even look recognizable to me. Like, I didn't realize that was Topher Grace until I looked at the credits after the movie. Very random and a very small role for him to take, to be honest. They could have got anyone.
I agree.
Like, he had, 3 lines in the movie? They could have got anyone for much cheaper. I don't know what he got paid, but they could have still found someone cheaper. But it's a very good set of scenes here.
Maybe he was hanging out down the street.
In the basement.
Same old place. Yeah.
Thing he did last week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Reed asks if they need help with the decision and then proceeds to tell them that, yes, there is a difference between choosing one of the doors. Paxton clocks a letter opener on the ground, and he continues to lecture them on religion, giving an example of a Parker Brothers game, Monopoly, and a song, arguing that all religions are adaptations of one another. He calls them salesmen and tells them that now he has something that he would like to sell to them, as the lights go off and the projector fires up. We cut back to Elder Kennedy looking for the girls, as we hear more pretentious shit being overlaid from Reed, explaining his point of view to the girls. And I say pretentious because nobody asked this motherfucker for his opinion. You don't need to spew it just because you're the smartest person in the room in your own head. So, sorry, just put my 2 cents in there. He asked the girls to choose one door if they still believe in God, and one if they do not, explaining both options are equally terrifying, throwing everything off the desk onto the floor, including their Book of Mormon. Barnes picks it up and clocks the letter opener now as well. She's also had enough of his bullshit as Paxton continues to still follow the polite script. Barnes calls his rhetoric thin and somewhat offensive and continues to call him out on numerous things. They enter the belief door, but discover both doors lead to the same goddamn basement. Barnes wants to fight back on a philosophical level moving forward, and also a physical one, as she gives Paxton the letter opener she swiped, telling him to stab his ass if anything happens to her, and to come up with the code word of magic underwear, meaning stab the motherfucker if said.
Yeah, this Monopoly scene, it caught me so off guard on the first watch. I was like, what the hell is going on right now? You know, the music started up from the trailer. I loved it. We're building a hell of a setting and an atmosphere. The comparison between Billions playing Monopoly and never finishing the game to Billions reading the Bible but never finishing it, I thought that was brilliant comparison in writing. Hughes' line delivery to Barnes of everything I thought was terrifying. I love this iteration scene with the close-ups of Barnes' lips quivering, Paxton's trembling throat. Like, you can tell, like, these girls are scared. And it was acted so well. Reed is an asshole mimicking Paxton's line delivery from earlier. Please. I thought, he's playing chess while they're playing checkers on him, and they actually kind of mentioned that later. Fun fact, I had never heard the song Creep by Radiohead until this movie.
What?
Yeah, hate to admit that, but that's the truth. I wasn't expecting so many relevant pop culture mentions either. Spider-Man, Radiohead, Lana Del Rey, Monopoly, Jar Jar Binks. What a movie we got here, boys. More standout camera work here as we circle the room as Reed calls missionary salesman. This film is getting deep whether you're a believer or not. Like, this is making you think a lot. Shout out Topher Grace, the Spider-Man legend, Venom. I know that. I am so impressed with Hugh Grant learning all this dialogue and portraying it so well. The Star Wars Jar Jar Binks caught me off guard, but I love how this film breaks the tension just to build it right back up. Like, I think it does such a great job with that. More strong dialogue as Reed speaks on God with the belief and disbelief being written on the doors, both in the context he portrays it. I thought it was terrifying. I love how loud the candle blowouts are each time. I think the sound design is on point. Terrifying making the girls choose between each door, but both leading to the same spot. I love the innocence and agreeable approach taken by Paxton while Barnes takes a confrontational approach to him. Sophie snapping on Reed, I love it. I'm willing to bet that Reed has never had another woman argue back to him, and Reed does great reactionary acting. Paxton is so cute, continuing to be nice and sweet, like Brian mentioned to Reed, in hopes that he doesn't hurt them. Scary as hell as the two ladies walk down these dark steps and he shuts the door behind them. Last time I saw a movie with folks going into a creepy basement, Big Mama came storming out, titty swinging, bashing folks' head in. So, I'm scared for them right now. I like Barnes' thought process being an intellectual challenge. But to me, you also have numbers with a weapon. I don't know, maybe you should have considered like a physical attack as well, more in my opinion. I didn't know Mormons wore unique underwear either until Dustin educated me on this in our instant reaction. I had no idea they wore magic underwear, as you could say. Another great tense set of scenes. Needless to say, I love the movie so far. Go ahead, Mike.
The correct name is Temple Garments, but anyway.
He said titty swinging and goddamn.
Put that on a shirt, Brian. Let's go. Or maybe not. I don't know how many people will buy that. I would if you put it on a shirt. Man, I love this board game scene so much, man. The music in games symbolizing the variations and interpretations is fucking brilliant. Again, there's a kernel of truth to what he's saying, right? I mean, it's just, and again, that's how a cult starts a lot of the time, right? Like, you take this little bit of information where it's like, that's right. This guy's right. And then he starts to kind of turn and twist his words and twist stuff that you already know into something that's evil and not good, right? I mean, he takes just a little bit of a grain of truth and twists it into something that's not good, that's not pure. And Grant is masterful here in this delivery. I love the Monopoly stuff. I think it's great. The big three, he kind of mocks it in a way. Just, kind of just really scummy stuff. Shout out to Bob Ross, though. I didn't know there was a fucking Bob Ross Monopoly. I need to get on that shit. Let's get after it. I will never play Monopoly again, ever. Don't ask me to. I don't want to do that. It takes like 9 years to play. No, thank you. Also, Hugh Grant, he can't sing for shit. Okay? Creep is a great song. The fucking Ned from South Park has a better rendition than Hugh Grant does. Jesus Christ. That's a real thing that happens in like the early and Scott Tinnerman Must Die, actually, is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
I love Creep. And again, if you really want to know more about Creep, Nico, go watch the clip of Patrice O'Neal talking about how white people love Creep. That is what you need to go watch, buddy. It's masterful. Patrice is fucking hilarious. R.I.P. Patrice O'Neal. And look, Creep is a great song. And by the way, it may have been a knockoff or whatever, stands above Holly's, The Air That I Breathe. Man, come on. That's not even close to as good of a song. But here's a plagiarism tangent here. There's only so many chords and progressions in music. I hate when people sue over this shit. Like, Ed Sheeran missed his grandmother's funeral because Marvin Gaye's estate sued him over whatever and didn't win, by the way. Like, just really awful stuff because you want to make a couple extra dollars. There's like 13 chord progressions in music. That's it. A lot of songs sound the same. And I play the guitar and I can play you about 100 songs with the same chord progression that you all know. So I hate that kind of shit. And that kind of plays to Reed's point, right? Like, yeah, there's going to be variations and different interpretations of the same thing, but that doesn't necessarily inherently make something wrong or bad. It just makes it different. And I love that Sister Barnes comes back at him with that argument. It comes back at him with logic and principles. Like, I really like it. Of course, the OG version of things may not be as popular, but I mean, there's more people around now. She mentions the Holocaust, the persecution of Jewish people in ancient times. Like, yeah, there's not as many of them around to pass that lineage down. And Christianity and, Islam have taken over in that sense. But again, just because it's a variation or something different of an original doesn't make it bad. I mean, TikTok is 1,000,000 times more popular than MySpace, right? I mean, I'm sorry, Dustin. I'll shut up, but I'm tired too, brother. I'm sorry, but again, TikTok's more popular than MySpace ever was. That's a perfect example right there. Like, yeah, it got its inspiration from all these other social media sites, but I mean, come on. I will say, my man is freaking ruthless with his criticism of their book and their faith. Just dismisses the whole thing like a total prick. I love it. And I love that we know, as an audience, both of these doors go to the same place. You fucking know it. I fucking know it. We all know it. But they are still, for whatever reason, somewhat convinced that if I walk through this door, I win this game. And they should know better than that, because that's not what's happening here. And I love the rant he goes on about the belief and disbelief. Really enjoyed this part of the film. I will say, I don't hate what comes next by any means. I do feel the movie gets a little bit sloppier in the next two acts. I really love everything we have so far, and I just really like the next two acts of the movie. But I'm definitely locked the fuck in. I will talk less, I promise. Or probably not. No. Whatever. I'll try to stutter less, though.
You're good, brother. Mr. Reed, so creepy. He clearly has evil designs for this evening, but stays so upbeat and happy, which makes it all the creepier. Him pulling out Monopoly was great, as were his metaphors here. Great camera work to pull tight on the sisters' faces to show their discomfort. Never thought I'd hear a comparison of a board game to the big three religions, and definitely didn't expect to learn that Lana Del Rey is the Islam of music. I love the rotating camera in this scene, panning around the room, adds to the tension. Reed's pivot to Star Wars metaphor, that made me laugh. This is one eccentric guy, I'll give him that. Him knocking the board games off the table was his first violent outburst, and that really kicked up the feeling of a threat, so I thought that was a good touch. When they got to the bottom of the steps and they were just in a pit with a locked door, yeah, I think their best bet would have been to smash the window out in the living room and run, jump, escape that way. The code word being magic underwear, that was hilarious to me. Like that's just funny. I'm still loving the movie.
A door opens and a decrepit, nasty-ass old woman appears, bringing in what appears to be a blueberry pie. See? Reed wasn't lying. Great guy. Creep by Radiohead begins to play as we see Mr. Reed playing with a scale model of the house with figures representing the girls. He tells the girls that the woman is a living prophet of God and that the pair will witness her resurrection after she poisons and kills herself by consuming the pie. To which, happens pretty damn quickly, confirmed by the girls feeling no pulse or breath. A bell rings as we are shown Elder Kennedy looking for the girls, but does not hear them at the front door. The girls are able to pull a rug close to the crack in the door and grab some matches as the doorbell rings again, as Paxton clocks that prophet has indeed moved. Kennedy, however, proves to be useless as tits on a boar hog and does nothing but give Reed a booklet as the girls attempt to start a fire to no prevail, as the prophet appears to be resurrected and pukes all over the floor, putting out their match and telling them that she saw a conductor with white clouds that isn't heaven and that it's not real, seemingly having two different meanings as she draws attention to that particular phrase. Reed joins them in the basement to engage the two girls again, claiming to be able to show them God if they're willing to die. Barnes rejects Reed's conclusion, calling it a magic trick. By the way, my first job ever was at Taco Bell when I was 15, and I called it Taco Hell as well, but not because it killed me. She calls for the magic underwear play via a no-huddle offense, but Reed is ready and slices Sister Barnes' throat, and the next set of scenes is the ending.
I would be so terrified if I were these girls seeing this unknown person walking into the basement. That blueberry pie low-key did look good, though. I ain't gonna lie. This is the second A24 horror movie we've covered with miniature sets of the locations, the first being one of Brian's personal favorites, Ari Aster's Hereditary. To some, this camera shot panning the other over the carpet, revealing the matches may be unnecessary, but I loved it. Terrifying scenario and line delivery by Reed saying this woman is a prophet of God and they're going to witness her die eating the pie. Whew. Wolfsbane and Belladonna, I looked them up. They're both toxic plants, so what a terrible way to die. Another sudden jump scare as a woman's head plants right into the table as she dies from eating the pie. I wouldn't want to touch this dead woman whatsoever. Paxton with great terrified acting, loved the shaking hand as she went to check the pulse, and the scream when the corpse gurgles. Both ladies give great screams of terror as Reed just nonchalantly cleans the house up to answer the door when the doorbell rings. Smart thinking by Barnes to get the matches. I do agree with Dustin from our instant reaction on pulling the carpet faster, but it's not a huge issue for me. Like, I get they're kind of nervous. I love the choice to shoot at like knee level as the camera pans back to the carpet and in the door with the girls. I 100% expected Reed to like stomp their hands here, kind of like Jenna Ortega's hand getting smashed in X. Kind of thought that was going to happen. Very observant of Paxton to notice a dead woman's head being in a different position from earlier. I got a chuckle with Topher asking if Reed received the booklet. I didn't expect that on the initial watch on. I thought he'd be like prying for more questions. I love that the film showed that these are safety matches. It answers why the matches are so hard to light in the basement. And holy shit moment with the body not being at the table anymore and being behind Paxton. Huge bummer when she vomits all over the one match they finally got lit though. Real talk, this prophet is scarier than most of the horror villains we've seen on this show. Hugh continues to terrify, riding the nose down on what the ladies witness, being as excited as he is to have them now kill themselves to see God. Whew. I only got a couple more lines, Mike. Love the Monopoly line from Mr. Reed and Sophie continuing to test him. It was not a miracle. It was a magic trick. I loved it. I just know Reed is sick of her ass at this point, but I'm Team Barnes all the way. And the last thing, guys, I was so bummed on my initial watch seeing Sophie was the one who got cut. I'm sure I'm biased, but I love the movie. It has me glued to the screen, and I'm ready to see how it ends.
Yeah. Again, Nico, like Brian mentioned in his open, you find yourself somewhat siding with Reed occasionally, and then you're like, No, man, he's twisting it like a cult leader would. Like I hate the way he's twisting just a little bit of truth into his BS, which again, cult stuff. But anyway, again, it's a smart plan from Barnes here to kind of make Paxton the one with the weapon. But as far as we know, or as far as I understood, he can pretty much hear everything they say, right? And so again, even if he didn't hear them, I'm sure he suspects something is up. I love this acoustic version of Creep, by the way. It's one of my favorites. There's actually a live version that's really, really good, but this is really up there. It also just adds to the atmosphere. I will say this scene goes a little bit long here with the Creep stuff, and it just kind of back and forth, not a lot of anything being said. And to me, the movie becomes a little less interesting. And I do just mean by the littlest little bit. With this fake prophet stuff, like it's not as interesting because now I'm kind of on to the game a little bit. The whole setup, and again, basically stage play here is good, but I think they already got us with the other mind games that Reed was playing. I don't know if we needed this fake prophet stuff. It's interesting, but it just kind of feels like more of the same stuff. It's not bad, but it doesn't enhance it for me. I'm not going to lie. I would not send Eric to save these women without Red Foreman being there. Are you kidding? Someone has to put a foot in. Yeah, I mean, someone's got to put a foot in this man's ass. You can't send Eric Foreman all by himself. We've seen him try to fight people before. He ended up with a black eye. Anyway, I will say I really thought him coming back was going to be the blow up that I wanted. I needed to see Reed get caught in the act. I didn't get that satisfaction. So they got my ass with that one. And again, this is also where I realized that Reed's fake prophet BS was exactly that, BS. It was manure. And the boxing matches on the rug scene, I go back and forth on if I actually like it or not. Like it's intense, but like me and my wife are sitting there saying like you can pull the rug faster. Like you can actually pull the rug faster. He's not in the room. Like you can yank that son of a bitch over to the door. So like, again, yeah, it's suspenseful, but is it logical? I don't know if I'm willing to forgive it. But also, and I know I couldn't have been the only one, learn how to strike a fucking match. Jesus Christ, man. It's not that hard. You fucking take it at an angle and you strike the side of it. Jesus Christ. Anyway, this is not like Stanford Prison Experiment. Stanford Prison was much more horrifying than this. Oh my God. Anyway, this is where I start to hate Reed. Like Nico mentioned, where he's getting preachy and it's very manipulative. And now I completely see right past it. He's a piece of shit. And this is where I start to hate him. I also almost died via Taco Bell myself, but for different reasons. I think we all are very aware of my stomach problems, and eating Taco Bell is almost a no-go for me. Imagine, Dustin, I want you to imagine if I had eaten Taco Bell the night that I stayed with you at your house, how much worse that would have been. Probably just awful.
It probably would have been worse, but honestly, we should have eaten something. I think that was part of the problem.
Buddy, I know I wouldn't have been as bad. I would have been drunk and an idiot, but I don't think I would have been through what I thought was I was going to die. So, Taco Bell probably would have helped. I agree. Last thing, he had it in his mind to kill Barnes all along, no matter how he made it look. And I do think, ripping an IUD out of someone's arm that was tough to watch. That was tough. Anyway, go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, the decrepit woman coming in with the pie, that's creepy as can be. But the spider jump scare was completely unnecessary. Like, it didn't add anything to the tension. I didn't like that. The revelation that the old woman is a so-called prophet was a great addition. And watching her eat the pie was nasty, disgusting. Elder Foreman showing up gives us a little glimmer of hope, and it's a tense scene. But it's short-lived. I thought it was great when he came back. I expected him to ask about the girls' bikes parked out front. But when he didn't, it makes you wonder what happened to them. So the wheels are turning there. But then we get the probably the most frustrating part of the movie, for me at least, is when they're pulling the rug, like you guys said, why they pull it so slowly. Once they have a grasp on the rug itself, they should have yanked it. It makes no sense, and it just should have been way less dramatic than it was. And then the fact that they only got a few matches, they didn't get the box down there so they could strike the match on the box. Nah, they could have got their hands on top of the box, just flatten it out and pull it through. Just the whole thing frustrated me. When Sister Paxton notices the woman's head had moved or wasn't in the same spot, and then the woman appears behind her, man, that was intense. Really makes you wonder what's going on. Was he telling truth? Is this that kind of movie? Then him saying that he can show them God. All they have to do is die. Great layers here. Like I think it was Barnes said, she was curious how he was going to get them to kill himself and make it look like it was their idea. So really good stuff there. Reed slitting Barnes' throat was insane. That scene was tense as is, and we knew her code word. And then Randy Orton her, sliced her throat out of nowhere. That was good stuff. We're setting up for a great ending here.
And here it is. As Barnes falls to the floor, seemingly to bleed out, Reed removes a metal object from inside her arm, claiming it is a microchip that proves Barnes was not real and the world is just a simulation. And I mean, she can be real and the world be a simulation. You know, both don't have to be mutually exclusive, but okay. We find out later Paxton recognizes the object as a contraceptive implant as she is beginning to realize everything has been carefully orchestrated by Reed. While the girls were distracted by the elder's arrival, a second woman hid the prophet's corpse, took her place, and delivered the afterlife description as scripted by Reed, adding an unplanned comment, "It's not real." Reed's killing off Barnes and attempt to convince Paxton of a simulated reality was an improvisation to cover the plan going awry. Paxton discovers an underground chute in which the prophet's corpse was hidden and climbs down, with Reed promising it will show her the one true religion. Further in the cellar, Paxton finds another chamber full of emaciated women in cages, locked with a bike lock that she used before entering Reed's house. Here, she realizes Reed's conclusion, that the desire to control others is the root of all religions. We see flashbacks of what really happened as Reed cuts one of the girl's fingers off to further demonstrate his control. His reasoning for doing so is to ask another question. Why do you all let me? He continues with this pretentious ramblings before Paxton says, BAM! Stabs that motherfucker right in the throat as he mentions her magic underwear. She climbs back up to the library but can't find a way out as Reed catches up and returns the favor, stabbing Sister Paxton in the stomach. As both bleed out in the basement, Reed tells her to pray, to which she says that prayer doesn't work, but that it's done to show kindness to others rather than produce material results. During which Reed crawls over to finish her off before, BAM! Barnes is back, baby, and kills Reed with the plank of nails before officially dying herself. And I was hoping that we'd get a little cool catchphrase like, study this, motherfucker, or something before she got him. But we didn't. Whatever. We wrap up as Paxton discovers an exit via the model and climbs out a window. A butterfly lands on her hand, reminding us that she earlier expressed a desire to be reincarnated as a butterfly that appears on the hands of her loved ones. It vanishes, leaving Paxton alone in the snowy landscape. Get some snow in that wound, sister. I'd like to say that we saw Elder Kennedy come back and do something, but alas, we do not, and that's the ending.
Yeah, I love Paxton's reaction, and it's a nice surprise she's the final girl, considering she's been like the goody-goody story girl mostly. I felt horrible seeing Barnes go down. I loved her character. Paxton reminds herself of what Barnes told her, challenge him, contest him. I love it. If you're squeamish, you got to turn away at this part. It's so gross seeing Reed dig into her arm to find that contraceptive implant. Reed is a hell of a salesman, I tell you what, and I honestly believe if Paxton had shown up alone to this, she might have fell for Reed's die and resurrect experiment. In our reaction, this was a nitpick of mine, Paxton not communicating the things she noticed earlier. But, after several rewatches, it makes sense. It's not her personality to take charge and speak up and, voice her opinion to stronger personalities. She always clammed up. Nice facial reacting by Reed upon realizing his prophetess went off script. If I were Paxton, I'd go into the cellar just to get away from Reed and try and think of a plan. But how validated do you think she felt, though, seeing the body down there? I'd be pissing down my leg if I were Paxton unlocking this door, honestly. Who knows what's behind this door? I initially thought maybe this was her door to freedom, passing the test, but not so much. If you didn't already think it, this prison of women being held captive, naked and cold, is horrifying and confirms Reed is a psychopath, sociopath, whatever it is you call him. Whenever the one true religion is revealed, my head and heart went to racing. Control. I am not going to lie, it messed me up, and that stuck with me, honestly, for a few days. Paxton has a good heart trying to console the quivering woman while she's still at risk. I cringed so hard seeing this woman have her finger snipped off, too. I wasn't expecting it. Paxton with a nice never let him know your next move here. She's fake crying to draw Reed in so she can stab him in the neck. I loved it. Here's a fun fact. Paxton, during her escape, sees a poster of the 9 Circles of Hell, or Dante's Inferno. In Dante's Inferno, the main character has to escape through the belly button of the beast. Earlier, Paxton says the only way out is through. And when she sees the poster of Dante's Inferno, she thinks she has to escape through the cellar door she came from earlier. Paxton gets stabbed in her belly button before being able to enter the cellar and escapes afterwards. I thought that was brilliant. I was so upset seeing Paxton get stabbed in the gut. I just thought she was a goner. And, I thought we've all touched on this in the past. I like a bleak, dark ending sometimes, but I needed a happy ending in this movie. Paxton goes Mr. Reed on Reed telling the prayer experiment story to him. I do agree with her that it's beautiful we pray for each other. It's beautiful to think about others and their needs and hoping for a good outcome. I said in our reaction, the ending with Barnes appearing and surviving and saving Paxton bothered me. It still does to an extent, but I can believe she survived her initial box cutter cut. Like I mentioned, Danny Glover took a nasty cut to the throat in the first Saw. Chad and Mindy Meeks have more lives than a pack of cats. I just wish they had shown a clip of her still alive and barely breathing, just praying to a God she don't believe in. That was a great line right there. Shout out to me. The board used by Barnes has 3 nails in it. And in Christianity, 3 nails represents the crucifixion of Christ. I don't know how accurate that is, or maybe that just happened, but it was a fun fact in IMDb, and I thought it was a nice touch. Mike, this is the last thing I got. I love the music playing as the film ends, the bright colors and the open ending. Did Paxton survive? Did she die inside and this butterfly she sees on her hand represent her? Or was it all just a nice callback? Regardless, I love the ending and thinking she survived this ordeal.
Yeah, I like that his immediate response is, I hate to break this to you, but she's a program. She's not real, which is total bunk, right? And again, I mentioned it earlier. Paxton is smarter than she was letting on. It just isn't in her personality to take lead, to take charge like that and speak up. But she is caught on this whole time. She calls out his, man butterfly BS analogy. It's garbage. No one's ever heard of that. I'd never heard of that. I heard of the butterfly effect, which she mentions. But again, I don't love this. Let's do the fake simulation theory thing. But again, I love it that it turns into Paxton being way wiser than we all thought. She's, calls his bluff, had to call an audible, or so she thinks, right? But at least she's matching his wit, tit for tat. Like she's matching the energy that he's giving her. And I like that from her because we haven't seen it yet. Again, and then we kind of follow, we follow Paxton here in her, door through door. And it's very clear that everywhere that she went, Reed was expecting her to take that path. And that's why the reveal of his, women in cages, this thing that he has is so sickening and disgusting, because when he reveals this is the one true religion and its control, that I agree with you, Nico, that was deep. It sticks with you. And it really does make you think, like Brian mentioned, and like Dustin has mentioned here, it makes you question a couple things, right? Like, well, damn, is he right? Like, is he all the way right? Of course, there's a little grain of truth into it, right? There's, guys, if you go to work every day and you like your job and you defend your company, there's a little bit of control in that, right? Because the company that you love may be the company that someone else hates, right? Like, so again, it's all a matter of perspective. And he has a very twisted view of the world and what religion is and what it does to people to have faith and hope and believe in something. He twists it on people and makes it a bad thing. And control, again, is the ultimate religion, right? I mean, again, we're controlled in our day-to-day life. So again, it hits home. It hits a truth button, but it's twisted in a bad way. I hate to keep saying cult leader, but Charles Manson did that same shit, man. Like, this is the same, beat by beat stuff. So, very chilling, but you had to kind of realign myself here. Like, all right, I got to get back into the movie because that was crazy deep. And I love that she finally uses the weapon. She stands up to him. Great shot there because I don't think he planned for that. He planned for almost everything else, but he didn't plan for that. And so I like that. And I will say I like Grant and, the character of Reed here as he's like crawling up to Paxton, almost scared to death of dying, which is quite ironic considering the fact that if his whole BS spiel were accurate, he'd be just fine. He'd come back to life, but he's not. He's scared of dying, and he didn't plan for her to try to kill him. And then he goes to kill her, and then we get Barnes coming back. And I also noticed that 3 nails thing, Nico. A little unrealistic, right? Like I don't love that, but again, it's fine, right? It almost makes you wonder, and this is up to interpretation. I've seen the interpretation. Did that happen? Was Paxton thinking that? Like, is it something that actually took place, or did Reed kill Paxton, and that's all? Barnes coming to see her, in this way. Again, just a thought, like an interpretation that I'm really unsure about. I don't know. She makes it out, and no, it's not as bad as Chad Meeks, man. Good Lord. Speaking of, I hope he's the first kill in Scream 7 so everybody will shut the hell up. Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous. Just make the Meeks the opening kill. It's a good idea, Brian. I agree with you. Last few things here. I think the butterfly thing obviously is a callback. It's a theme throughout the whole film, but it landed on her finger. And if you remember something that she said about when she dies, she was going to come back and be right on her loved one's fingertips, so they could, feel her every day. And that's what I interpreted that as. So again, I think, Dustin gave me a look like maybe he agreed. Like, I'm not so sure that she lives. I know that's the interpretation that you want because you wanted her to make it out of there, but I'm not so sure I believe that. I believe she actually dies at the hands of Reed, and this is all something that happens in that post state, right? Like, I think that's that's the interpretation I have. Really good ending, but it is ambiguous enough where I could believe either way.
Yeah, Reed rooting around in her arm, that was disturbing, and he has a sick sense of humor. Man grabbed a vein and said, nope, that's not it. Whoa. Then him trying to gaslight Paxton into thinking Barnes wasn't real, that was crazy. I'll admit, I took notes on his gaslighting abilities. I love Paxton's evolution here. She's much smarter than she let on before, and I like that. You're right, Mike. It wasn't in her personality. She was much more reserved, but push comes to shove, she's not a dummy. I don't really care how the flashback to what happened when the doorbell rang was done. I don't know how I would have done it differently, but it just felt like a TV show, like CSI or Monk type flashback. Maybe I wouldn't have shown it at all. Maybe just have Paxton tell her theory and don't show it. I don't know. Great tension as she goes down into the cellar, and then a horrifying scene. This man is hoarding countless women in cages, just sinister stuff. Then we get another Monk flashback, and we don't need that. I'm not a fan of how it looks compared to the rest of the movie. The sick sense of satisfaction on his face when Paxton figured it out, that was chilling. When she tricked him into saying magic underwear, that was incredible. He said he'd been able to predict every move she made, but he didn't see that coming. I love the overhead shot of his maze of a model house and seeing her run through it. That was cool. The score really ramps up, and it's very tense, wondering if she's going to make it out alive. And I love the tight camera shots on her face and Reed's face as he stabs her. But I got to disagree, Nico. I don't think we get the happy ending. When Barnes whacks him in the face with the spiky 2x4, I don't think that actually happened. So they talked about near-death experiences earlier in the hallucinations, and that's what I think all that was. I believe Paxton and Reed bled out and died. I think the rest of the movie isn't real, and the butterfly shows that. Like, she said she wanted to come back as a butterfly, and I think her escape from that room and that house was just her transitioning to her reincarnation. I haven't seen anything supporting that theory online, but film is subjective, and that's how I interpreted it. Really solid ending to a really good movie, A24 has done it again.
Oh, brother. You guys got any trivia
The
going
last
on?
two you made me watch. This one was freaking just the best movie of all time. I mean, good Lord.
Last two were good too.
I only
First,
got,
reform these balls, buddy.
I only
just
got one
got-
fun fact.
I just got one, and it's not really a fun fact. It's just David Arquette. So I'll just go ahead and do it. Chloe East was in Out of Reach with Gilbert Jackson, who was in, you ready for this? Zombie Hamlet with Hulk Hogan, who was in Muppets from Space with David Arquette.
Nice.
There was a shorter path.
Wow.
There wasn't a direct correlation that I found, but there was a short one with a less step in there. But I just had to say Zombie Hamlet with Hulk Hogan. Definitely picking that down the road.
We're getting zombies, brother.
Can't wait. The only fun fact I have is Hugh Grant was asked if he had seen any A24 horror movies. He said Midsummer was the one, and it stuck with him, and he loved it. That's why I got the shirt on, Dustin.
Nice.
Hereditary was better.
No, Midsummer's better.
I said what I said.
Hereditary had the best kill of all time, so there's that.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Can we move on, please? Jesus
Budget.
Christ.
Are you guys ready for budget or no? Or what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
for it.
All right, let's talk about the money. Dustin's thing that he has the most of. This movie had a budget of $10 million and grossed over $52 million worldwide, which actually exceeded, according to this article I'm reading, A24's expectations for the film.
Which is crazy because they actually marketed this one. Like I saw tons of trailers every time I went to the theater. There's posters everywhere. So if they just put that
Also,
effort,
$10 million surprises me. How much went to Grant, you think?
Good bit.
yeah,
So, like,
9.75.
$4 million? I mean, what else should they do?
yeah, probably
You
100
guys-
grand to rent the house, and the rest went to Hugh Grant.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. We got anything on the gram for social media comments, Nico?
Yeah. Jen and Juice comment, I went and saw this in theaters, and besides Hugh Grant being ever so good as a creep, I really felt disappointed in this one. However, I think that since it's more a complex thinking piece horror film, that it can be interpreted so differently viewer to viewer. I'm very curious of y'all's opinion on this one. Appreciate that, and I respect that opinion. Jake Goldstein commented, not really a question, but this goes down as one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Hell yeah, brother. I'm right there with you. We're in this together, as Brian would say. And the last thing I got is from Jenny Conway 02. This one was one of my favorite films of 2024. On the surface, the plot is straightforward and overutilized. Two innocent young women kidnapped by a deranged man who keeps a dungeon full of darkness and despair. Underneath that, this movie is an incredible study on religion, history, obsession, and control. It also demonstrates the power of pure kindness in lieu of manufactured beliefs. This movie was engaging, intense, and cerebral. Hugh Grant was outstanding as Mr. Reed, and it's a tragedy that he was not nominated for an Oscar. I agree, and she continues to impress with her writing skills.
I've got X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Sean the Glee Man, the poet sloth himself, said, I had so much fun watching this movie. Thought the explanation at the end was a little out of nowhere, but it still didn't take away from how good Hugh was. And then that guy, Millhouse14108, said, watched this movie simply based on Nico's gushing, and I was not disappointed. Hugh Grant is excellent playing a dark character, and the combo of Sophie and Chloe was incredible. Enjoy breaking down the idea of not only questioning your beliefs, but why you believe them. 8 out of 10 for me. Then he followed it up and said, better than that Saint Maud you made me watch.
Yeah, what? The movies aren't even on the same planet.
On the Book of Faces, Cole McAlexander have a very, very prominent love-hate relationship with movies like this. The most terrifying horror movie genre are ones that could happen in real life. Please tell me I'm not the only one that feels this way. Love the show, guys. Look forward to every episode. Thank you, Cole.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cole. Absolutely. Hey, this next question comes from Mike Settle, and it's directed at Dustin Franklin. When you hear the name Hugh, what's the first thing you think of? Come on, WCW guy. Come on.
Oh, Hugh Morris? Okay. So I was
What
thinking
about his other name? Late WCW, buddy.
Oh, late WCW. Hugh.
General Hugh G. Rexon, baby.
Rexon,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That's great.
I thought you were going to try to get me to say Hugh
His
Douglas.
other name is funny too. Hugh Morris. I thought that was good. Not as good as Hugh G. Rection though. That's great.
I thought you, the Eagles fan, was trying to trick me into saying Hugh Douglas, but
All right, Dustin, why don't you give us your favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating?
all right. Favorite kill was Sister Barnes. It was so shocking and unexpected and great throat slash. Least favorite, like I said, I believe Paxton died. So her, Reed, and the quote unquote prophet or the others up for consideration. I'll go with Paxton because I wanted her to make it out alive. And I don't know how she didn't hear Mr. Reed's footsteps approaching her, to be honest with you. Like, he staggered all the way down those stairs and walked up behind you. You were unaware. Awareness on zero. Easy for me to say. As far as my rating and final thoughts, movie's tense, it's creepy, and it's really strongly acted. A few things I didn't like that I mentioned, but overall it's really good. I gave it a 9.
I'll go next. Favorite kill for me, I'm just going to go with Mr. Reed just because he deserved to die, by God. Least favorite kill, I'm going to go with the prophet who ate the pie. Damn, I hate to see it. Fat guy like me, it scares me that I can die from eating some desserts. You know what I'm saying?
I hated to see the pie die. That looked like a good looking pie.
It did look good.
Nico, it's well documented. You don't eat pie.
Jesus Christ.
All right, I'm just going to quote Mike, something he said during our Terrifier 3 instant reaction. He brought up how me and Dustin don't really care for slashers like this with no story because we're, watching more of these thought-provoking movies that have story and all that. And that's what this movie is, Heretic. I loved it. Do I have some problems with it? Sure, but it's everything I want in a movie. I give it a 10.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. My favorite kill was Reed, nails, and the drag. I think that's what got me. I liked it a lot. Least favorite kill, the gross poison pie. Honestly, didn't feel the almost 2-hour runtime, but the ending I think would have been nice with a little bit of a conclusion with Topher Grace's character. That's, again, if you take it literally. All in all, very good movie. I actually gave it an 8.75.
Okay. My favorite kill was Reed. My least favorite, same as Dustin, because this is how I interpret it, was Paxton. Just because that's not the ending I wanted. Very thought provoking and very unique and different, but definitely not what I wanted. So that would be my least favorite there. Although Pie Lady is not good either. Obviously, she wasn't some spirit woman or whatever. She was held against her will and starved to death. So anyway, I love the movie. I think it's great. Hugh Grant is fantastic. The whole cast is great. I love the way it's shot. One location, but multiple set pieces. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so good. It's different. A different take on religious horror, which again, I've talked about on this show. The ghosts and ghouls and spirits and all that stuff is not typically my cup of tea. This is not that. This is so different and so thought-provoking that I actually talked more. I sent how many words I typed into the group chat just for this show. So just for this episode. The most I've done in quite a long time. So very much enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the conversation episode. As we used to say on this show, fellas, it was a great discussion episode, just like Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie Brothers. I gave this movie a 9.5. Couldn't go full 10 because I didn't love the fake prophet stuff, so I went 9.5.
All right, that gives us a composite score of 9.3125. IMDb has it at a 7.0. Letterboxd 3.4. They're tripping. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics know what's up. They've got it at 91%.
Hell yeah, brother. I'm here for it. Any final thoughts for to shout out our blood donors and Mike announces his pick for next week? All right, I'm glad you guys like the movie. It's one of my favorites. Blood donors, we really appreciate y'all. Big shout out to you guys. Camper Level Reoccurring, Nina, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Selgin, Michelle Mirza, Chris Manley, and Steve Schmidt. Camp Counselor Reoccurring, Edwin Hernandez-Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Heather Superdoc, Jennifer Davison, Too Close to Home Pod, Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, Max K, and Madison Arzolo. We really appreciate y'all. Take a huge burden off of us to help us pay these bills. Mike, you want to announce your pick for next week?
Sure, brother. Again, we're in 2024 month, and I do. I had a really long list of ones I wanted to pick. I didn't know if I wanted to pick one I hadn't seen that you guys had talked about, or maybe talk me into picking. But I went with what ended up being my biggest surprise of the year, which is the sequel to Smile 2. Very excited to finally get around to it. Shout out to fan of the show, Jordan Ziegler, who apparently doesn't like this movie. So I do apologize for making her watch it I guess she doesn't have to watch it. She's already seen it. But we're going to have an entertaining show around a movie that she thought was boring. Let's get after it, fellas.
I'm excited. We appreciate y'all listening, and go have some blueberry pie.
Jason X.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Just want to remind everybody.